Welcome to Pensar Basketball Live. And this is our first film session of the year. If you've been around for a long time, you know that we pretty much built our entire channel on film sessions, a lot of low light films. This is not gonna be a low light film. This is not picking on any one player, but over two preseason games, the Toronto Raptors have tried a lot of things, failed at a lot of things, and frankly, through 7 quarters, they've pretty much been dominating the Washington Wizards. That's not saying a lot, but there's a lot of good things that are happening for some of the young players. Obviously, the Toronto Raptors have made a huge focus on defense as being their calling card this season. They're going to play with pressure. They have pressure defenders like Jamal Shead, Davion Mitchell, Ochai Abaji. How are those guys coping in defensive schemes? How are guys in the lower third of the defense like Bruno Fernando and Chris Boucher, et cetera, managing their rotations? How does the team function with Jakob Poeltl on the court versus off the court? Things of that nature. So in this video, which is probably going to be demonetized due to copyright and all that stuff, but therefore super chats and all that stuff is very deeply appreciated. But nevertheless, we got to do this. We're going to do this. So we're going to break down some Gradey tape, some Jamal Shead tape, some Davion Mitchell tape, some Chris Boucher tape, some Ulrich Chomche tape, some Jonathan Mogbo tape, and then an overall overview of the Toronto Raptors as a team, looking at some of the turnovers that Scotty Barnes had yesterday, some of the shots that, are missing, why they're missing, things of that nature. There's about, I want to say about 7.5 to 10 minutes of overall film. We'll try to cap this off at an hour and try to be pretty succinct because I do want a lot of people to watch this because, again, I think that a lot of people are really overreacting to what happened yesterday. Going back, the Raptors were winning that game through 3 quarters, and they basically didn't play half their rotation. And the Wizards did play their rotation. So, if you continue to play Jakob Poeltl and Scotty Barnes in the fourth quarter, you probably win that game too. But at what cost? To what end? Who cares, right? It's preseason. Daniel, appreciate you saying, hey, everyone, happy Saturday. Happy Saturday to everybody. And I hope you're enjoying your Thanksgiving weekend. Let's get to it. So let's start out with Gradey Dick. Now, Gradey, is a fantastic young player, I think, who he's doing incredible things on the basketball court. His basketball IQ, as you'll see in these clips, is extremely high in terms of how he spaces, even how he rotates defensively. He may not always get there at the right time because of physical limitations. He may not always contest the shot, but you'll see that Gradey is generally one of the smarter players on your team, and that's saying a lot given the fact that he's a 20-year-old second-year player. But let's go here. Jonathan Mogbo is going to sort of dribble over, pass the ball over to Gradey, and Gradey just attacks Jordan Poole, who is a very lacking defender. Alex Sarr decides not to come up, and Gradey just nice little pull up shot. This was game one. Really just simple, nice, easy. And take a look at Gradey, and this is Gradey's off-ball gravity and just sort of what he is able to do off the ball. So here he's going to pass to Jonathan Mogbo, and he's going to cut backdoor, and Kyle Kuzma is going to trail, and then he comes around, and I believe Jakob Poeltl is going to get involved here. No. So here you're going to see Gradey set a screen on Jonas Valanciunas so that RJ is going to have the window to pass over the defense to Yak. This goes unnoticed in most scenarios. You're not going to give Gradey a screen assist for this. Gradey doesn't really benefit on the box score. And, if you're watching this game, you're like, why isn't Gradey doing anything? Well, Gradey just set a screen on a close to 280-pound behemoth and actually got his big man open because, as you're going to see right here, Jakob Poeltl gets right to the rim, and this was an assist for RJ Barrett. So good job, Gradey. All right, some more Gradey. Once again, constantly, relentlessly moving without the basketball, stops, and does the perfect thing because Jonathan Mogbo is about to drive. He wants to widen the angle and give him a gap to the basket, and he realizes that his defender, which is Bilal Coulibaly in this case, and you're going to see how much of a difference guys like Bilal Coulibaly and Keyshawn George and Alex Sarr make defensively, especially when we look at some of those Scotty turnovers. Those guys are very long and they get into all the gaps. So here Gradey is going to, with his shooting gravity, he's going to try to suck Bilal Coulibaly out. And Bilal Coulibaly has to respect him. And of course, closes out a little recklessly. And Gradey has just enough speed and separation to get free. And once again, Alex Sarr is a little bit late offering help, but good contest. Gradey just better shot. overall, really good. Once again, Gradey without the ball. Gradey does 80% of his work before the catch, and that's really just encouraging. So once again, catches Keyshawn George just a little high, gets the step on him, and he's going to go all the way to the rim here. Now, here's the adjustment. I want to see, at least somewhere through midseason, I want to see him go into Jonas Valanciunas. Right now, he's going to go away from Jonas Valanciunas, and this is still going to go in. But in most cases, if you're going to go up against a shot blocker, you got to go into their body. And Grady doesn't take contact or initiate contact overly well. His free throw rates have never really been all that encouraging to me. So that's going to be a huge step for him. And that's something you're not going to see from Jacoby Walter because Jacoby will go into his body. And that's something I think Grady can just adjust because he's a super great, like he's a great young player. I just feel too often he's floating away from the basket on these types of shots. Once again, another great, this is a Grady defensive possession. Kind of gets caught flat footed, just a little late on the recovery, but I like the attempt to get back. Now, this is Grady initiating, and look at RJ Barrett, right? On the top left. And sorry, is that RJ Barrett? Apologize. That is a little blurry there. That's Ochai Baji. My bad. So he's gonna find Ochai's transition. I'm sorry. That was Ochai Baji. So he's gonna see Ochai Baji and he's gonna make this pass through the defense. And I just love the fact that he had the presence of mind to not dribble the air out of the basketball and to get rid of this basketball when he did, because Ochai had a clear road to the basket. Also, look at the job that Kelly Olynyk does to seal his man so that he can't get into the play. So this is basically Bilal Coulibaly one-on-one against Ochai Agbaji going downhill, head full of steam. And Kelly is basically going to he's going to use his defender who's trying to seal him, and he's going to push him into Bilal Coulibaly, which is going to give Ochai Agbaji just a slight angle to get this past the shot blocker. Really impressed with Bilal Coulibaly. Those of you who followed my pre-draft coverage last year, I love Bilal. I was petitioning for the Raptors to draft him, but then he rose up to number 7 to go to the Washington Wizards, and the Wizards kind of reached to get Bilal Coulibaly, but for good reason. He's a fantastic young player, and the defensive potential is really up there with the Herb Jones and OG Ananobis of the world, and I think Washington's in really good hands with him and Alex Sarr, defensively at least. Okay, now here comes a little Davion Mitchell kind of sucking the defense in and finding Gradey Dick. And, Grady catches Corey Kispert, little flat footed. And here, once again, he's going to go all the way to the basket, gets right around the shot blocker, but he gets blocked at the rim. And that's basically, the Alex Sarr effect. And I watching this tape back, I became very enamored with how well Alex Sarr moves on the basketball court. He really covers up space very well. Now here's Jakob Pertl setting a screen on Grady's man. Grady's going to get right downhill, wastes no time, no dribbles, and then boom, a little pump fake here for Keyshawn George, who's a little bit too antsy. Really good defender, by the way, Keyshawn George. Very impressed with him as well. But Grady gets that separation, and then boom, this is just a pull up. And with how recklessly, with a little bit more space, with RJ Barrett, Scotty Barnes, etc., Grady being the 5th starter is going to be a really big godsend for him, especially if he's mastered this part, right? Which is attack a reckless closeout, pump fake. If they don't react to the pump fake, make a quick pass. If they do react to it, just nice little mid-range pull-up. He's got this in his game, and it's been encouraging to see him go to it as often as he did. Okay, that's the end of Grady. Let's move on to Jamal Shead, one of my favorite young players, definitely. And that's just, hold on, let's just go back to this. Okay. Hold up. Okay. So here, Jamal Shead is just going to get a step on Keyshawn George, and he's going to go just right to the basket, right? And I love it. I love how relentlessly he attacks. Like he is just constant attack. Even the shots that he's missing, and he went 0 for 5 from 3 yesterday, and a lot of people were very discouraged. I love that he's taking threes. I love the openness on some of them. I like the shot selection on them. I mean, again, Kyle Lowry couldn't shoot worth a lick when he came out of Villanova. I think he shot 26% from 3. I don't think Jamal Shead is going to shoot 26% from three. This is going to be a matter of getting in the gym and repetition, repetition, repetition. And I don't think his shot form is necessarily broken. It's not hitchy. It's just he misses. He's not a great 3-point shooter. And he wasn't a great 3-point shooter in college. And now the range is out. But I'm very encouraged that he's not timid about letting it fly. And I love that he's not forcing it. I mean, just generally speaking, I've been very encouraged with Jamal Shead. Okay. Now, this was, the attack on Alex Sarr. He just knows exactly, he has a great feel for when to go on this one. And so he's just gonna boom, just a nice little cross, gets that one step, just a little bit of quickness. And obviously, by the hair of his chinny chin chin, he gets this through. And some people even said Alex Sarr blocked this. This was like an own goal, but love the craftiness, to get that off. That was great. Okay, here we go. Grady's dribbling the ball up. Boop, boop, boop. Oh, that was a Grady highlight. My bad. Got mixed up in there. Okay. Now this is Jamal Shead almost drawing a charge. This was very Lowry reminiscent. Just the reaction time to get up and do this properly and just no fear, right? It is when you're looking at Jamal Shead and Jonathan Mogbo, it is all basketball IQ and instincts with these guys. And I think that it is just really great. And when you look at Ulrich Chomche later on, when we look at Ulrich Chomche, you're going to notice that it's just all motor, all the time, all attention, but maybe too much attention. These guys really know how to play, right? And that's more than I can say for some of the Raptors that have played for this team for the last few years, including one of the guys we're going to look at. But the defensive awareness and IQ to get right here, boom, he's established position. Like this is 6'8" guy barreling into a 6 foot guy. The 6 foot guy is going to get that charge. Now he doesn't sell it. This is something he's going to have to learn. He has to sell this because he does technically draw the charge. He just doesn't fall over, and therefore the referee doesn't draw. And I guess he didn't have the referee's attention anyway. But nevertheless, I really liked the fact that he had the presence of mind to get his feet above the line and to draw that charge. Okay, once again, he is an undersized guard, but he closes gaps very well. Watch this contest on Bilal Koulibaly, who's at least 12 feet away, at least 15, 18 feet away from him when he starts his pursuit. And look at the little technique that he uses to close that gap. Now here he is. He should not be able to contest this, and you're going to be surprised how well he contests this. Look at how quickly he jumps into this in order to launch, and he basically almost blocked that shot. Like that is freaking impressive. That's really impressive. Zigsaw puzzle is on some other thing. Did you guys see Sam Mitchell's crash out? Yeah, I saw it. I wouldn't worry too much about it. It's not real. Like it's real, but it's not real. Like it's not real beef between those guys. He didn't give out his real address. Everyone's just losing their minds on social media for no reason. It wasn't his real address. Okay. He makes the shot. Kudos to him for making the shot, but I think overall that was very encouraging. So, there were some plays from Jamal Shead, the some of the the steals that he picked up that have been very well covered on other channels from game one. But I just thought it was really interesting to see how often he does the right thing. Now, here is some Davion Mitchell tape. And Davion does a lot of good things and a lot of bad things. And we're going to talk about some of the good things. Some of the good things that he does is I think he does read pretty well out of the pick and roll. Some of the bad things he does is he really doesn't know how to space the court. He doesn't have a good, appropriate basketball IQ for offensive and defensive spacing. So sometimes he's pushing too much into the gap and he doesn't recover. Sometimes he's ball watching, and you're going to see a lot of that. So Davion, this is gonna lean both positive and negative. I think Jamal Shead and Gradey Dick, it was overall positive. I think this is going to be a bit of a mixed bag. So here's something. We'll start with something positive. It takes the screen here from Yak and perfect pass. Like he does that thing that a lot of young players who are a little undersized do, which is they hop to get the edge on the angle. Because again, when you're when you're an undersized guard, you're gonna have to learn to jump a little bit when you're making these passes. And Davion has really mastered the art of the midair pass. And this was just a really clean look. Not only that he saw it, but just how this lands in RJ's shooting pocket is just perfect. And this was the first basket of preseason. And again, you're not going to get this if Davion sucks up one more dribble because the defender would have recovered. And you're probably not getting a clean shot like this if the pass is off target. So, good job, Davion Mitchell. Now, here, he's going to attack Bub Carrington. Carrington, not a great defender, really good shooter, which will be applicable in later tape. But here he gets a nice little step on Bub, pulls him back, and then gets a step, and then boom, he's gonna use the defender's momentum, spin off of him, and make a perfect pass to Brendan Carlson, who unfortunately does not go right up with this, takes one dribble to gather, which is a bad habit that he's probably going to have to drop from college. He is not explosive enough to explode up at this point. Like the defender is always going to recover. So that's a huge mistake by him. And he's probably kicking himself after looking this back on film as a 25-year-old rookie. Making that mistake is unforgivable, really, at this point. As a big, that's an elementary mistake, to borrow a term from Ox. So I think at that point, it's clear. He just has to put it up. He has to bank it. He has to dunk it. You cannot bring it down. He gets, it's a wasted opportunity, but good job, Davion. Now here, Davion with a competent big sealing off for him on the screen, Yak, and then he's going to pull the defender on his hip, which is perfect, puts him in jail. This is like some Jalen Brunson stuff. Like Jalen Brunson's elite at this. And now look at Jakob Pertl, and here's, this is working with a big who knows what they're doing. He takes Alex Sarr out of the play. If you can see in the middle of the court, Jakob Pertl looking like he's innocently boxing out on Alex Sarr when he's basically like holding him and pulling him out of the play, which gives Davion, and because of the angle at which Yak is positioning himself, he's also sort of taking Bub Carrington out of the play. So this is all the small little hacks that an elite veteran big can do for you, like a Steven Adams or Isaiah Hartenstein or a Jakob Pertl. So, nice little pass. Nice little screen assist from Jakob Pertl and nice little layup from Davion Mitchell. Okay, why do I have a feeling this is going to be a bad play? Okay, so here Davion is. This is Jamal Shead, and I want you to see at the top left of your screen. I want you to see this entire play. And I want you to watch Davion Mitchell. So this sort of weird ass, defensive alignment for the Raptors is not anybody's idea of great defensive positioning. But I want you to look at Davion Mitchell. Now, if you can notice, Davion Mitchell is the furthest up defender, not Gradey. So there's four defenders here. I believe it's Chris Boucher and Bruno Fernando, Jamal Shead, and also Davion Mitchell up there. So Davion's man in this case would be, one of those two wings popping up, right? And Grady's sort of doing the right. Grady's doing the right thing at this point. He's kind of keeping one foot in the paint away from the weak side, and he's just in position right now where he could still technically recover to Keyshawn George in the corner. But let's take a look at how this plays out. Now, right now, when Keyshawn starts to when Keyshawn starts to cut, that's when Bub Carrington, I believe it's Bub Carrington over there in the corner, is starting to trail towards the corner. And it's that point that Davion must register that Gradey cannot guard two people at once when they are separating. And this is a great basketball IQ play by Keyshawn George to read this, to get out of the way. But this is terrible basketball IQ from Davion Mitchell, who does not register that his man is wide open. Now, Gradey is going to correctly read this play because he cannot stay in the corner and overreact to Carrington and then give a backdoor layup to Keyshawn George. This is completely 1000% on Davion Mitchell. And right now, he's doing that thing that I hate that he does, which he's been doing for the last 7 years, which I absolutely hate, which is he's ball watching. He is 100% ball watching. And this is like terrible. And this is going to be a wide open three. This is what they consider a wide open three. You're a 6'5" guard with a 6'1" guy flying at you. That's wide open. And you can't do that. And, you're going to see how often Alex Sarr and Bub Carrington, guys who were wetting shots, you see how much of the Raptors' implosions and losses and loss of focus was self-inflicted. So here's, another Davion Mitchell play. And I believe this is, him and Chris Boucher working in this. And he's going to perfectly read this. Again, a little jump just to get the angle. Bub Carrington, just terrible defense, right? Not really putting a hand up, not really making the pass hard. And if you're going to play like that, Davion's vet enough, and Chris Boucher is quick enough, especially when his guy is Corey Kispert, and Alex Sarr can't recover because Jakob Pertl is just keeping him out of the play just enough. So again, a lot of people worked on a string to get Chris Boucher open there, but good read from Davion. Here we're gonna have Scotty Barnes dribbling the ball up the court. This is absolutely going to be related to Davion. So Scotty gets a foot here and he's going to pass out to Davion on the corner. And this is going to be a really good read from Davion Mitchell because Scotty's going to set the screen here on his man. He's going to seal perfectly and then he's going to release. And the Wizards are going to miscommunicate this. And as you can see, number 13, which I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is Jordan Poole, is just completely out of this play. Like he's just falling all over himself. That forces Alex Sarr to overreact to Davion Mitchell. I don't know why, honestly, because Davion Mitchell is not pulling from there with any sort of consequence. Scotty gets behind the defense. The only help back is Kyle Kuzma. That is basically no help, and Scotty gets right to the basket. So that's super, good read from Davion Mitchell. Really timely, on target pass. I like the fact that he can do that. Once again, this is number 3 is trying to grab onto Jakob Pertl, but once again, he jumps and wait, is that, oh, we're right. We're right back at the beginning. Okay, let's get rid of this. Okay, next up, Chris Boucher. All right, there's a lot of good and bad here too. Okay, let's get to this. Okay, so RJ Barrett driving downhill. Personally, if I'm the coach, I don't know what they've asked him to do, what his box out assignments or what his offensive rebounding assignment is. But to me, right now, Chris Boucher is in RJ Barrett's way. Like, this is not good spacing at all, right? You've got Jakob Pertl setting the screen here. You got Marvin Bagley, who's technically in position to recover. And you got Chris Boucher bringing his man, what I believe is Kyle Kuzma, into this play. And I don't really see why you wouldn't stop. And sometimes Chris Boucher does not know what plays are for him and which plays he's supposed to support. It just, give me the ball, give me the ball, give me the ball all the time. So I just think this made an otherwise pretty simple situation pretty complicated. Sorry, it's not Kyle Kuzma, it was Keyshawn George. So now RJ Barrett is to go with 2 defenders, and you haven't really created a great angle for him to make the pass to you. So sometimes it's just a positioning and understanding passing windows. And Chris Boucher really does not understand passing windows at all. He understands the basic principle of just getting to the rim. And, RJ's lucky, and I guess the Raptors are lucky in that case, that Marvin Bagley is just an ass defender. But yeah, here we go. Little ball pressure from Jamal Shead, which was really good and really encouraging there. And you will notice that Chris Boucher is not in this play. And this is another habit of Chris Boucher's that I would love for him to break. The Raptors are currently playing 4-on-5. It is very fortunate that the Wizards missed this because effectively any competent team is going to score 4-on-5. Any one of them, especially when one of those 4 defenders is Gradey Dick. Like, this is just very fortunate that this is a miss by Corey Kispert. And by the way, this should go into Ochai Abaji's positive highlights. There's going to be a lot of Ochai Abaji defending at the rim, but Ochai pretty much creates this. But the second part of this is created purely by Gradey Dick. Look at how quickly he reads this pass. This is a guard. This is a wing. This is a wing shooter. And this is why he was drafted, because this pass is not something that most non-passers, not point guards, would ever even think to throw. It seems simple enough, but trust me, as a 20-year-old, this isn't the easiest pass to even see. There's a lot of, guys. Corey Kispert would probably not have made this pass, right? Gordon Hayward would have made this pass at 20, but most guys don't. But again, the leaking out forcing your team to play 4-on-5, I mean, that's a no-no for me in terms of Chris Boucher. Now here, you're gonna watch Chris Boucher at the bottom of your screen, or sorry, at the far right, my far right of the screen. And at this point, you can split hairs on whose responsibility it was to rotate over here. You really could. You know, was it on Yak? Like we can go back and really dissect this. Like who do you hold accountable for this? Right? So we got Jamal Shead coming out to the shooter over the corner. Somebody has to tag the roller. Would it be Ochai? Well, it should be. In theory, you could say if you're sending two to the ball to send pressure, and while the defender recovers, so the hedge and recover element of or stunt and recover is just to force a stop for the offensive player to disrupt rhythm, but then you have to get back into the play. So somebody has to tag the roller here, and Alex Sarr pretty much getting clean to the basket. Now at this point, Chris Boucher clearly can see that among the two bigs who are in position to assist at the rim, he is the closer of the two. So at this point, stop the ball principle. And of course, you worry that there's a corner like Corey Kispert in the corner, and Alex Sarr could easily just make that read if you contest him. But at the other side, like that's still a three, and you at least give some chance to Ochai and Grady to recover and cover for you. And hopefully by that point, potentially number 33, which I believe is, I think it's Kyle Kuzma, could be covered by Jamal Shead. So the whole defense will have had a time to reset. But unfortunately, Chris Boucher is not going to read this on time. And you'll see the reaction time is so slow. So I don't know what this is, but this is not anything. Yeah. You would see exactly how a Chet Holmgren or Victor Wembanyama or an Evan Mobley or really even a Nick Claxton or Jaren Jackson or Bam Adebayo, basically any competent rim protector would have handled that situation. I believe Jakob Poeltl would have handled that differently. You have to stop that. You have to stop that role, and you have to react to it much sooner. Okay, this is going to be another Chris Boucher special moment. It's going to be a block. Nope. This is Chris Boucher not reading help. Okay. So look at Chris Boucher's feet. This was the charge that wasn't called a charge because he couldn't get his feet above the line. He had an eternity to get his feet above the line. I'm not trying to pick on Chris here. Obviously, I wasn't super enamored. I'm not super enamored with him in general, but like, this is, when Darko Rajakovic says I'm treating him like the rookies, this is a mistake I would expect Ulrich Chomche to make, or Brandon Carlson, who are rookies out. And honestly, when we look at Ulrich Chomche's tape, you're going to notice he's not making those mistakes. Like he would get his feet above the line. So anyway, this is just it's a missed opportunity because Chris is more than fast enough and more than old enough at this point to know how to recover. And if you're not going to get your feet above the line, then just put a hand up. Like don't try to take a charge. It's different when you have like a half a second to react. It's completely different when the offensive player projects the drive from the top of the key and it's so far that he has to travel and you still can't do it. Another Chris Boucher moment here brought to you by Christopher Boucher. Okay. Here's Chris Boucher getting the ball. Now, do you notice Scotty Barnes underneath the basket? But Chris Boucher does not see him because Chris Boucher does not map the floor. Now, you're going to see Scotty Barnes kind of clap for the basketball. Look at how long Scotty's open, and Chris still doesn't see it. He's not even thinking about passing to Scotty. Like right now, he could pass to Scotty, and Scotty would be one-on-one against probably Corey Kispert, and he's your star player. That's your superstar. He's wide open underneath the basket. Like these opportunities do not grow on trees, and this type of easy offense is easily disrupted by a player who does not see it. Moving on. Just to no spoilers, he did not pass to Scotty Barnes, and Corey Kispert recovered from the play. Once again, okay. Now I want you to watch Chris Boucher this entire play. Chris Boucher is at the top of the key here, and technically his man right now would be Bob Carrington. Is it though? Watch it again. Now, floor balance is super important. DJ Carton is lost. Okay. He's lost because Chris Boucher has basically tagged his man and forcing him to recover. Why? Like, it's on Boucher right now to get over on his man. Like, this play right here, Boucher is forcing. I mean, you could say, okay, if Boucher has committed to Bob Carrington, then it's on DJ Carton. I just don't see why it should be on DJ Carton. Obviously, ideally, you want the matchups to be more suited. I don't want Chris Boucher guarding Bob Carrington any more than you do. I think Chris Boucher is a much more natural matchup for Keyshawn George. So if you're closer to Keyshawn George and Keyshawn George was your man to begin with, why have you overcommitted to Bob Carrington here? Thus leaving Gradey to split his attention between two offensive players. So Gradey sort of stunts here to force, I guess he's trying to force a drive away. So they give, the reason for stunting is you want to force the offensive player to have to think, right? And the thinking here is that if you force them to pump fake or pass fake or whatever, it might disrupt the rhythm of their shooting. The point here is Keyshawn George is a friggin' sniper, and you need to know the scouting report on this. And the fact that Chris Boucher still has not registered that his man is open is pretty much like criminal at this point. Now he recovers. Now he realizes, oh shit, my man is open, but it's way too late. Like, this is just, and the game was just right in the balance, 77-76. So you want to ask about how it got away from you. And once again, this is another example, right? Bob Carrington has been killing you. He's a shooter. That's the scouting report. Chris Boucher, this is your man this time, clearly, because you're the guy who's closest to him. Who else's man could it be? Who else's man could this be? Right? You got Davion in the corner. He's guarding because of a cross match and transition. He's guarding Bilal Coulibaly. You got Gradey, who's committed to the corner shooter, which is Corey Kispert, who's a lights out shooter himself. Now you got Chris Boucher, and he clearly has Bob Carrington, but he's also clearly not read the scouting report. So this is how he reacts to a pretty good shooter. And Bob Carrington's never had so much space in his life, and he's just like, all right, fuck this shit. I'm gonna drop this. Okay. This is Chris Boucher initiating from the top, and this is Chris Boucher driving into a Patrick Baldwin double team. My God. It's not even like Bilal Coulibaly is a really good defender. Patrick Baldwin is not a great defender, and there's an easy pass to DJ Carton right there, and he's not going to make it. Instead, it's transition. It's going the other way. And once again, this is how you lost the game. 84-81. You want to know how you lost the game? Everyone is on Chris's nuts right now saying he had this great game. I'm sorry. Like, yes, he was active. Yes, he ran in transition. Yes, he leaked out for some dunks. Yes, he had a really good 7 for 10 box score. If he's effective, he hit some threes. But please understand, he made some absolutely ridiculous plays. So some people saying he should be the Raptors' sixth man. Chill. He is nowhere close to Bruce Brown and Kelly Olynyk as a player. Just not even close. This is nuts. He's impactful in the box score. That's it. Okay, moving on from Chris Boucher. Some encouraging signs from Ulrich Chomche, yeah? Okay, so Ulrich is a really interesting player because he tries to do the right thing a lot. Look at this screen that he sets for DJ Carton. He really clears them out. Like, I mean, among the bigs on your team, granted, he's going to pick up a ton of fouls every single game as he tries to figure this out. He might have some naturally like gift. He has some real natural gifts as a pick and roll roller and potentially eventually as a pick and pop big man because we know he can shoot. We know he's going to shoot. We know he's shot in game many times. This is not a situation where it's like Christian Koloko, where it's purely theoretical and he might figure it out. No, this guy can shoot. So eventually, teams are gonna have to respect this, and he's gonna wreak havoc for your spacing. Also gonna wreak havoc for your vertical spacing. Look at this. Okay. All right. We see Ulrich there. He clears out a little bit, gets the dunker spot, trying to get Tristan Vucevic out of the way, but also trying. Did you notice that? Like, he backs away just a little to give TJ Carton a slightly larger passing window. I really like that because he could have easily gotten in DJ Carton's way here. Now, he doesn't have necessarily the veteran savvy that a Jakob Bertel has, where he's going to seal Tristan Vucevic and get him out of the way, but he does create a passing angle, which I appreciated. And even though DJ Carton is not going to throw him a lob here, he's going to be in position to get the offensive rebound, which is exactly what he's going to do. And he just puts it right back. Love that. Okay. Another Ulrich Chomche play. I believe this is, yeah. So he misses backdoor. Like number one is open backdoor. He doesn't see it. That's his man. He's just wide open. He's lost. This is Ulrich Chomche is completely does not know what planet he's on. He has these lapses every now and again. Most 18-year-olds do. He can't see. He's just lost. Like this, I hope that this does not, you know, become something like a meme or something. But this is about as lost as a human being has ever been on the basketball court. Like he looks like he's blind. Like you know what I mean? Like he looks like, where are you? You know? And his man is so wide open, and he doesn't see it, and he still doesn't see it. And now he finally sees it because he was looking for the ball. He was like, "Where's the ball? Where's the ball? Where's the ball?" Ball watching is a disease. You have to cure it. Okay. So, really just a bad play for Ulrich. Now, look at how he moves. Again, he's super low and he has that explosiveness where he can just explode up vertically. But look at how he moves to offer a little bit of help, right? To DJ Carton here. He swallows this up. He probably overcommits there. And then Tristan Vucevic gets wide open. Okay. Another screen, slips it, gets right to the basket. This time, DJ Carton does throw it. He gets fouled. So I'd like to add 2 points retroactively to Ulrich Chomche because JV absolutely pushes him right here. And that's why he misses. Okay. Another one. Again, just watch Ulrich this entire time. And this one's going to be really interesting because this is the number of decisions he makes here. Good decisions. Okay. So Carton gets stuck on the screen there from JV. Right now, you have a Washington player trying to seal screen Ulrich on the back to clear that driving angle for Bob Carrington on the right side. And Ulrich slips it, tags the roller, kind of gets in the play, and almost gets there. I like the fact that even though he got screened, that he didn't get completely just give up on that play, that he kept trying to fight through and do the right thing. It's a little effort like that that you look for from 18-year-old bigs. This is not easy. This one was even more encouraging. I think this is the one. Look at just his balance, right? As the defense as the offensive pieces are sort of shuffling, look at how quickly he's reacting. Like, so map how long it takes for the Washington player to make his decision, and then map how long it takes for Ulrich to make the decision to react to it. Like, the reaction time is really impeccable. Like, first, hold on, just to take a look at this for a sec. Okay. So Jemias Ramsey recovers as 0-0 is rolling down. Ulrich is very cognizant of that and still turns his head on the offensive player, still recovers and tries to block the shot. Manages to block the shot. His guy gets stuck. This is another play where, again, Ulrich is once again reacting to the ball. He's tracking the ball. The problem with Ulrich is he's a ball watcher too. He has the same problem as Davion Mitchell, is he's very, very hyper-focused on the basketball, and he sometimes loses his man off the ball. So he's not even concerned about 0-0 behind him right now. He doesn't care. He is just like, give me the ball, give me the ball, give me the ball, give me the ball, give me the ball. But you notice that there's sort of that skip step in the middle. He's trying to block everything and he overcommits. He's what I call overactive. Like Ulrich Chomche right now is just an overactive offensive player and he's an overactive defensive player, but he's also overreactive. But I would rather a player be super hyper reactive and also have great reaction time and then kind of teach them the game of like what to react to and not react to, as opposed to having a player who has a low motor that doesn't want to react to anything, has a slow processing time, and doesn't know how to react to anything, even if I asked them to react to, hey, that roller. When do you see it? When does your brain give your legs the information to move? Right. I just think that it's yeah, there's a lot of encouraging stuff that he's doing right now, man. Okay, moving off of him, let's see some high IQ basketball plays from Jonathan Mogbo. Okay, look at how quickly he registers this pass. It's actually kind of impressive. So this comes off the rim, good on, and small subtle things, man. Ochai Abaji had to know to back off a little bit, just enough to give Jonathan Mogbo this pass. But the fact that Mogbo could still see the window to make this pass around JB is actually really impressive. And you're going to see a lot of the playmaking from Jonathan Mogbo that is just very encouraging. Here's another one. So Mogbo is going to cut back door here, right? Keyshawn George turns his head. Now here he travels. Straight up, he travels. Takes one step before the dribble, but just the presence of mind, even though he did travel, he didn't extend the travel, he didn't make it even more obvious or whatever, he didn't overreact to it. He still just goes on to the next play, which is Jemias Ramsey cutting downhill, and then boom, that's an assist. Great pass. Once again, now this is in transition. Again, there aren't a lot of guys who project to be able to play center who can handle the middle of the court like this. You have to think longer term, Draymond Green. That's what you have to think with Jonathan Mogbo. I don't want to hear Precious Achua ever because Precious Achua would not make this pass. Watch this. So here comes Jonathan Mogbo. Again, the deliberate slowdown and then the deliberate move left to give himself an angle to make this pass to DJ Carton or to Bruno Fernando, depending on what Bob Carrington does. And right now it's clear he's going to pass to Bruno Fernando because Bob Carrington has committed and Bilal Coulibaly is not in a position to recover. And had Bilal Coulibaly recovered, I'm positive that Mobo would have bumped Bilal and then found an angle to pass to Carton. But nevertheless, this is an open dunk that I believe he made or missed. It doesn't really matter. Point is, Mobo generated an open dunk. Once again, Jonathan Mobo picks up his dribble way too soon, but still has the presence of mind to find Jamal Shead streaking to the basket for that pass. And I don't give a shit that he missed. That was a great shot. And if you make that pass to RJ Barrett or Scotty Barnes or Emmanuel Quickly, that's going in. Now, once again, Jonathan Mobo, this time without the basketball in his hands. And he is going to do a great job of not getting involved in this play. Trailing the play, offering just enough space for, potentially this offensive player to give him a pass. Whereas if this was Ulrich Chomche or even Chris Boucher, I guarantee you they're streaking right down the middle and therefore complicating the drive for their teammate. It's small things like this that show you that Jonathan Mobo really understands how to play basketball. Okay. Now, screen set for number 3, and he gets number 8 on his back, and he's going to seal. And I got news for you, number 8. You're not stopping this because Jonathan Mobo is wiry strong, and Bob Carrington does not have a chance here. And boom, that's a dunk. That's basically his entire college career in a nutshell. That's all he did. That's a lot of what he did. Now, this shot, I think it's encouraging that he's taken this shot as often as he has between the open runs and whatever. I'm gonna tell you right now, just based on what I just saw, forget his college tape, forget all the open runs, forget the open gym practice, forget all the other plays we're not talking about here. Just based on everything I've seen in the last 2 minutes, I'm telling you this is an NBA player. 100% this is an NBA player. Okay. And the touch, the air balls. Like if we're doing a Jonathan Mobo airball compilation, he's airballed more than Kyle Kuzma. Like he airballed a whole bunch in the open practice, and then watch this. He airballs this too. The touch is embarrassingly bad. He's gotta have to figure that out. Is he overthinking it? His touch certainly was not this bad in college. Okay, now this is the most interesting perhaps, and this is a little bit of Scotty Barnes, a little bit of the players we haven't talked about. Let's get into this because this is the entire Raptors compilation. It's about 4 minutes of highlights, and we're just gonna take a look at some spacing issues, some defensive team communication issues, and you guys can be a little bit more I guess you can voice your opinions in terms of who you think is at fault in particular situations. This is going to be a lot of mistakes. Okay, so here we go. Jonathan Mogbo. Once again, just a breakdown on the backside of the defense. Not good. Okay. Just not good. Okay. Let's get to the next play, which is okay. Who the hell are we guarding here? Gradey gets a little bit out of the play here initially, and you're going to see Alex Sarr wide open. Now, he has drilled enough shots on your team to this point where even if you didn't read the scouting report, you know this guy can shoot. There's no way in hell that he should be this open. And four players, three of them have committed to Bilal Coulibaly, who doesn't even have the basketball. That's not LeBron James. You cannot do this. And right now, I would say it is on Davion Mitchell to get up because he is the defender that is closest and most in position to do this. And obviously, Jakob Pertl is committing to the corner. So I think right now you're forcing Chris Boucher. I mean, first of all, Kyle Kuzma is wide open underneath the basket. Chris Boucher has let him get there. Chris Boucher is in no man's land. Chris Boucher and Davion Mitchell basically are guarding absolutely no one. Gradey Dick was the guy who initially got lost, and he's trying to get back into the play. So let's see how this eventually breaks down. And again, Davion Mitchell ball watching. This is a lot of Davion Mitchell ball watching. And right now, enough time has elapsed at this point where if Davion is committing to Bilal Coulibaly, which he shouldn't, then he needs to let Gradey know to get back up. Now Gradey is trying to recover out to the to Corey Kispert, but at this point, who the hell is supposed to be guarding? Like this is a complete breakdown all over the court. Like, it's hard to even see where the mistake is at this point because it's like three guys are making a mistake at the same time. But if you're the defensive quarterback, if you're the veteran, if you're the defensive stopper, you're going to have to be a communicator. If you're the point guard as well, you got to be the guy to communicate when there's a breakdown like that, like who's guarding what. And Davion Mitchell is just a little bit lost sometimes. Okay, this is Bob Carrington coming off. It's Chris Boucher. Sorry, that is Jonathan Mogbo kind of getting lost on that uh, Marvin Bagley screen there. Kelly Olynyk, you need to get your hand up, man. Get your hand up. Like, this is just not good. Like, I understand Kelly is not a rim protector, but you have arms, right? You have to use them. Ridiculous. Okay. And here comes Jakob Pertl. Just a great pass. Great pass to Ochai Agbaji. And a great cut from Ochai Agbaji. Been a little bit hard on Ochai and Davion, but they have some moments. Okay. Now here's your boy Scotty. Shake, shake, and a nice contested dribble. Did I love this shot? As much as people were hyping it up and saying, like, oh my God, Scotty's so great. No, I did not love this shot because he's more than capable with, a clear paint to beat Alex Sarr off the dribble. And he should be able to beat him off the dribble. Taking a mid-range contested two over Alex Sarr is not the basketball IQ that I've come to expect from Scotty Barnes. I appreciate that he can make that shot, but in a tough game, like in a close game with the regular season, with an actual win on the line, this might just be practice for him. Like, can I get my mid-range package off a guy like, against like you just don't see Scotty Barnes usually taking shots like that typically. And I know that a lot of people want him to take shots like that, but I'm not one of them. I don't really care at all if he takes a mid-range contested two over a 7-footer who's mobile. Like, I'd rather him put that 7-footer in the torture chamber, put him in the post, and put his body into him and get to the line or drive past him because there's nothing behind him, beat him off the dribble and get to the line. You know what I mean? Like, this is a small, subtle thing that I think Scotty needs to learn is like yeah, it's great that you could do that. And again, I'm not overly critical of it. It's one of his better plays of the night. It just overall, I think that if that's a regular season game, I'm kind of mad at that shot, to be honest, because that's not. If it was Bilal Coulibaly, I'm totally cool with that shot, right? But because it's Alex Sarr, and I believe that he's just not fast enough to stay with you on the perimeter, that you could put a body into him and just get him into foul trouble. I just think that there was a better process for that. Here's okay. So let me show you the consequence of space. Take a look at this pass. Okay. Now Scotty's going to throw this pass between Keyshawn George and Bilal Coulibaly. He's trying to find Jakob Pertl. Now he projects it just a little bit, but this pass is unusually difficult for one major reason. Look at Davion Mitchell, number 45. Yo, like you're too close. You've dragged your man into the passing lane, thus making this pass damn near impossible. The spacing is atrocious right now. And it's partially because Davion Mitchell is way too high. Like, what the fuck? There's an entire corner of the court that is not being occupied right now. And if you were in that corner, there's no way Bilal Coulibaly even has a chance to touch this pass. Now, the responsibility is ultimately on the passer, so that's on Scotty to direct Davion to go to the corner before he throws this pass. He overestimates his passing abilities, or maybe underestimates Bilal Coulibaly's off-ball reactivity, but Bilal Coulibaly is not an off-ball dummy. He actually doesn't necessarily ball watch. Bilal has a complete understanding of when you're going backdoor, when you're gonna try to backdoor him, or when a cutter has gotten loose. Like he has good reaction time and he has really good defensive basketball IQ. So you're not gonna throw this past the Bilal Coulibaly any more than you were gonna throw it past the Herb Jones or an OG Anunoby. Like that's the thing about great wing defenders who have long arms is they make passing angles like suffocating. Jonathan Isaac is another good example. Scotty Barnes himself can sometimes do that as well. So yeah, Scotty's got to have to be more careful with the basketball. But again, it comes down to spacing. A pass like that does not. Another example, like what Scotty should do here, obviously, is pass the Jakob Pertl. The problem with passing the Jakob Pertl is you have Alex Sarr and Bilal Coulibaly closing in on you, and they closed quick. So it came a little fast. And by the time Scotty registered that it was coming, all of his passing windows started to shrink. The one passing window, by the way, that is wide open and the logical passing window is to Davion Mitchell. So pass to Davion Mitchell. But then the question then becomes, given where you are on the shot clock right now, is that a shot that you want Davion Mitchell to take? It's on Scotty for getting this turnover. Then he'll complain. He's going to complain that, oh my God, it didn't go off of me or whatever. That's some fantastic acting. It clearly went off of him, and that is 100% his turnover to own. But ultimately, it is spacing like this that makes it impossible for a star player to actually, to be a star. And, again, when you have RJ Barrett, when you have Emmanuel Quickly back, the spacing is going to get a lot better. When you have Davion Mitchell on the court, you're going to have to be cognizant of the fact that the spacing is going to be atrocious. And so you cannot have lineups with Davion Mitchell plus Jakob Pertl plus Ochai Agbaji. That's criminal. That's insane. You can't do that. And that's who you fucking started this game. And you were up 11-3. And I don't know how it happened that you were up 11-3. But those three players cannot play together. You can never have those three players play together. Ever, ever, ever in a million years. And when you add a fourth player like Jamal Shead, who's also not a threat to shoot from three, you really are forcing some serious growth from Scotty Barnes here, I guess. Anyways, here's another Scotty play. Okay. And he gets a little high with the basketball here. And I'm not going to show the turnover because it clipped off right before, but Keyshawn George basically pokes that away and it's a turnover. Just a little too loose with the basketball, man. So those are some Scotty turnovers. Here we go. This is Scotty for three. Okay. Worth noting. Why not drive? Well, it's partially because there is a non-shooter on the court named Davion Mitchell who is not sucking any gravity, and that passing and that driving angle is not exactly open. By the time you get to the rim, if you're Scotty Barnes, because he's not Anthony Edwards, he's not going to flash to the rim like a Dwayne Wade or a Michael Jordan. So he's going to have to take 2-3 dribbles and probably lumber his way to the rim because he's fast, but he's not like super fast, right? He's got long strides. They're not quite Giannis. So you do need better spacing for him, just the same way you need better spacing for Shea or better spacing for Jason Tatum. So the point here is that he's taking the shot because the drive closed off, right? Whereas if you have Grady in the left corner, maybe there is a better passing angle because again, you think to yourself, even if you attack that gap, right? The gap between Keyshawn George and who I presume is, I think, sorry, it's a little bit blurry, but I think that's Jordan Poole. Is that Jordan Poole? Yeah. So the point is, even if you did attack that, the best thing you would generate is an open corner three for Davion Mitchell, which isn't exactly efficient offense at all. So therein lies the problem with non-shooters in general. But okay. So here goes Gradey Dick. Once again, look at where Davion is right now, and look at how the defense is reacting to him. They're not reacting to him. They don't care. He can be wide open. They don't give a shit. Overall, decent shot. No, not really. Heavily contested. The moment that Bruno Fernando convinced you that he's not an NBA player. My God. Three men. Okay. Now this is as much a criticism of Bruno Fernando as it is a credit to Jonathan Mogbo, who has the presence of mind right now to actually cut. Look at this. Mogbo tries to cut to give to give the guy an out because again, Jonathan Mogbo is just a natural hooper. He understands how to play basketball. It doesn't work out. It turns into a turnover. And to anyone who didn't watch the game last night, who thinks the Raptors got blown out wire to wire, you'll notice that the Raptors led pretty much through three quarters. Okay. This is Brandon Carlson being very slow, not recovering at all. Okay. Jakob Pertl, just the presence of mind from Jakob Pertl and the shot readiness. Look at this. The fact that he knew where his teammates were. He knows exactly where Scotty is. He knows exactly where Grady is. And if he has to pick between those two for an open shot, a corner three is going to be way more efficient for Grady than above the break three is for Scotty. And he makes the right decision 100% right in the shooting pocket, well, close to right in the shooting pocket, and bam for three. Great decision making by Jakob Pertl. It really helps to have bigs who can actually pass. And here goes little transition. Davion Mitchell makes a nice cross court pass, gives it to Ochai Agbaji, and Agbaji hopefully sees Jakob Pertl. And oh, nice. Great pass. Great pass. Scotty gets beat. Over help. Look at Ochai Agbaji's ability to guard the paint. I think this is super underrated, man. Like sometimes I realize that Ochai is not an NBA player, but I also find myself really wishing he is an NBA player because look at one, boom, stops that, and then gets back to contest this and forces a miss at the rim. It's not really that common for a guard who's about 6'4", 6'5" to be this good at protecting the paint, but he does it really well. Like, I am pulling for Ochai because, dude, like this is a top 9 player in your rotation. Easy peasy. If he could just learn how to shoot and just master the cut, like there is a reason they have invested as much time and money into him. And if you're asking me to pick between him and Davion, I understand people are really hyped about Davion. There's a particular Raptors podcaster who's been pretty much on his Davion is amazing and he's going to be 6-man campaign. He's not. It's not going to happen. Relax. He's not that great. But if I had to pick between the two, I would pick Ochai just by a hair. But the ability to protect the rim for a guard is just that's what makes Jalen Suggs and guys like Gary Payton II so special, right? Like that is effectively like Dwayne Wade, Michael Jordan. Like there's very few guards who can really rim protect. And the fact that he's one of them at 6'5", the fact that he can take on that an assignment, that tough assignment that you don't want to take on, if he could just be competent offensively, he'd carve out a 10-year career for himself. So I hope he's listening to Garrett Temple. Okay. Here's Ochai once again, recovers out of in control, I would say, but the spacing again defensively was really bad, and Scotty was very frustrated there. And I think I pulled that clip up particularly to look at Scotty's reaction on this one because he was very upset. And you can see Scotty in the middle of the court, like kind of holding his arms up, like, what the fuck, guys? That body language is not necessary. Okay, here comes Scotty. He almost loses this. Surprising. He was not sharp last night. And then Gradey, nice, unselfish, beautiful. These are the plays that make the chemistry go to 100. Okay, perfect. Okay. Scotty, off ball awareness, usually pretty good. This time, really bad. And this play really stuck out to me as like really terrible. Look at Scotty Barnes and look at Corey Kispert. Corey Kispert is just far enough away from Scotty to get the shot off because Scotty's a very long defender. 7'4" wingspan is not an easy thing to shoot over. But Scotty completely ball watching here. And it's not like he's necessarily in a position where he has to offer a ton of help. Jamal Shead is a perfectly capable defender on the perimeter, but Scotty is thinking, digging into the gap. He's gonna try to force a steal here because the Raptors are still up. They're up 65-60. And you can tell that Scotty wants to gap this passing lane, but he doesn't completely commit. Like he's not completely committed to it. So he's not pressuring enough and he's also overcommitted. So there is a sort of no man's land that I never want to see a defender in. And Scotty was in that no man's land. And what it registers is a wide open three for Corey Kispert. And this really was the beginning of the end for the Raptors. You know, they continued to be in it, they continued to win this game, uh, right into the fourth quarter. Scotty recovers there. Everyone's just way overreactive on this one. And when you get the advantage, you just need to pass it until you find. And unfortunately for the Raptors, the end of this advantage was Keyshawn George and Corey Kispert, both guys who are lights out shooters. So you can really see the vision for what they're doing in Washington. And I feel like playing some of these guys who can really shoot really stretch the Raptors defense out. And while the Wizards may still be terrible because they employ guys like Jordan Poole and Kyle Kuzma, I don't think they're going to be as terrible from a philosophical standpoint under Brian Keefe. Okay, so Davion is beat here. Chris Boucher does not recover in time, and there's absolutely no rotation out to Kuzma, who comfortably knocks this three down. Okay, Boucher with that, jumps to the pump fake there. Davion, as you can see, has completely abandoned his man, which is Corey Kispert. And again, this is another example of Davion Mitchell ball watching a little too much. And he's going to be late to recover. And because he closes out a little bit recklessly, he's going to get beat. He asks Gradey to close the gap. Gradey doesn't get there fast enough necessarily. And Corey Kispert is going to draw a foul and get right to the line. So just a little bit of a defensive miscommunication there. Maybe it's partially personnel, maybe it's bad tendencies, but either way, it doesn't matter. That was not a drive that should have worked out well for the Wizards, but it did. And here's Gradey playing the passing lane beautifully, getting into that passing lane. I saw bits and pieces of this last year, and it's encouraging that he has the length to do this. But then he makes the cardinal sin of passing into your own into the front, into your own backcourt, and ultimately it results in a wide open three or almost wide open three for Keyshawn George, which again, 79-79, the game is hanging in the balance here. This is Bilal Coulibaly. He's going to take Bruno Fernando on an island and beat him off the dribble comfortably, just takes him off the dribble. And this is a dunk. But should Chris Boucher have offered help sooner? I think we can certainly discuss that. Okay. So Boucher is tagging Jonas Valanciunas. Jonathan Mogbo is stuck in no man's land. you could make a case that this is on Mobo to bump and just to I would say it's on Mobo to go down and basically tag Jonas Valanciunas so that Chris Boucher can get above the line. But, it's there's different variations of this working, but once Bruno Fernando was beat, honestly, you didn't need Bruno to get beat. This is a terrible matchup. A center on a guard or a guard wing on the perimeter right here, he's already beat. So right here, Chris Boucher has to go and either trust that Jonathan Mobo will recover to Jonas Valanciunas and cut off that passing angle. I mean, it's also worth noting that you've got number 7 wide open, but nevertheless, it was not great defense. This is a work in progress. Here, Brandon Carlson is going to make another mistake. And by the way, the game was slipping away slowly. This is 8 minutes into the fourth quarter. Raptors are down by 6. They desperately need a shot or something. And Brandon Carlson tries a dribble handoff with Jonathan Mobo. Unfortunately, gets picked off by Bilal Coulibaly. But don't worry, Bilal Coulibaly is amazingly going to miss this. But not to worry, Jonathan Mobo recovers, ends up giving the ball to Brandon Carlson, who has a wide open driving lane in the next play, and he doesn't take it. He decides to pull up for three, and he misses the three. I'm not sure how I felt about it, but sure. Okay. Here comes Alex Sarr. Now here's Ochai. Now this is really highlighting Ochai's defense. I want you to watch Ochai in this entire play. Okay. This is a good one. Okay. So watch Ochai, whose man is clearly Keyshawn George here, right? So Ochai Baji, here we go. Tries to backdoor him. Gradey and Ochai successfully communicate that switch. He gets over, he recovers. Now he's sort of trailing here on his hip, but he's long enough to be able to do something about this with Corey Kispert. So yeah, Corey Kispert has him on his back a little bit, but I think Ochai has enough length to really contest and make this a very difficult finish. And that's the good thing about his 6'10" wingspan. And you're going to see that 6'10" wingspan come into play here because he's going to meet him at the apex and he's going to close this gap at the very last second. And that's Ochai Agbaji showing you why he still has an NBA contract. Okay, so that is that. And I found it really interesting to look at the Raptors from, again, a more bird's eye view as opposed to a very reactionary view. In my viewing of it, I found myself, kind of shaking my fist a little bit at some of the stuff that Chris Boucher and Bruno Fernando did, especially those two. But I also found myself, somewhat miffed at Davion Mitchell's off ball defense. I found myself very impressed with Davion Mitchell's on ball creation sometimes as a passer. But I also found myself completely flummoxed by his off ball spacing habits. So sometimes just the ability to read where your offense is coming from and how to get out of the way. Jonathan Mobile, my overall takeaways is just to kind of, brush over how I feel about every single one of these players having, watched this over. Start with Gradey. I think Gradey is really good. Like I am very encouraged by his playmaking chops. His off-ball awareness is fantastic. His defensive effort is decent, although I wish it would get a little bit more aggressive. I think he obviously needs to finish through contact a little bit better, but he's probably going to need to get a little bit stronger to do that. But he can't shy away from it. I think some of his secondary playmaking is just brilliant. I think he is going to have a really good time playing off better players. And again, people asked the other day, like, would he start on any other team? Maybe not. Maybe he wouldn't start for most teams. But I'll tell you right now, he's not that far away from being a rotation player in the NBA. I think his pathway is very, very clear, and his skill set is very unique and very beneficial to a team that values space. And the Raptors value space. And if you want Scotty Barnes to have an easy go of it, and you want him to get cleaner looks, you're going to need to provide him with space. And space comes not only through shooters and stationary shooters, but movement shooters and guys who know how to relocate and guys who know how to cut. Gradey is building a lot of really great habits. Unfortunately for him, he's having to build like 10, 12, 13, 14 at the same time, all the while trying to navigate becoming a pro in the NBA, all the while trying to navigate building up an NBA body, all the while, being thrust into a starting position. when frankly he's one of the youngest players in the league right now. So look, I think long term, very bullish on Gradey Dick. If you tell me this guy's not a 12-year pro, I'll say something happened. He's a legit NBA player. Like with the 13th overall pick, you got a legit NBA player. You could have done a lot worse than that, right? Does he become an all-star? I have no idea, but he has a pathway to that. Is probably not going to be an all-star. I'm just going to say that right now. I don't think Grady's going to be an all-star, but if he turns into like a I don't want to say Danny Green because Danny Green's obviously a hell of a defender, but I mean like a Danny Green level impact player for the rest of his career, I'll consider that a pretty big win for the Raptors. Okay, moving on to Jamal Shead. Nothing that I need to say about Jamal Shead hasn't already been said by various channels. I think he is really good. I think his jump shot is the only problem. Like almost the only problem right now is his jump shot. As a playmaker, he's very good. He reads the court extremely well. He moves off the ball very well. He reads defensively very well. He attacks very well. Everything about Jamal Shead is very well. I love his compete level. I love his attention to detail. I love the fact that he understands the scouting report and he communicates better than a lot of players on this team right now. The only thing is really the jump shot. And unfortunately, until he can shoot, he's just going to be a negative spacing, he's going to be a spacing issue. But unlike Davion Mitchell, where I think there's a lot of concerns about, how he doesn't relocate, how he doesn't, get out of the way when, there's a driving angle or whatever. I don't think Jamal Shead has any of those issues. And I also like really like his decision making overall. And I think that's very important for a point guard. It's not just that you make clean passes and you avoid turnovers, right? It's just your overall decision making of when to run, when to not, and generally speaking, just command of the game. So I thought overall he was very good. Davion Mitchell, again, mixed bag, right? Davion Mitchell, I think the playmaking was decent. He found some really good dimes, especially Chris Boucher. And he communicates really really well with his bigs. He's very comfortable. He found a great There was a great read for Scotty Barnes as well. So he's a quick decision maker. He's really figured out how to run a pick and roll. The problem is his effectiveness in the pick and roll is very much limited because he cannot score, and because of his lack of scoring and his lack of shooting, those passing angles just don't widen enough to the point where he's really sucking in three defenders. He's never ever manipulating the defense that much. So I think that's a problem. And honestly, his on ball defense was inspiring. Like his compete level and his hounding, the basketball was very good. But ultimately, I found myself wanting a lot more from his off ball awareness. Way too often, ball watching, losing his man back door. There's a few clips we didn't look at because I really don't want to get a copyright strike, but ultimately I've just found him to be ball watching a little too much, sometimes very late on the recovery. Not a great guy at the rim. If you do get beat backdoor, he's not going to be the guy who's going to recover down, and block the shot overly well. So I think you're a little bit limited when you're out there with him because while he is a good defender, relatively, to his height, he's a good defender. He's not a good enough defender to make up for what he's taking away offensively. And while he is a good passer, and he can do that, he can pass for you and he can, initiate a little bit. I think him being on the ball is actually terrible for your offense because he does not create enough of an advantage. So, I heard yesterday somebody say that, another podcaster say that he's going to be running the second unit. The hell he is. No, he's not. Kelly Olynyk, Gradey Dick, Scotty Barnes, Emmanuel Quickly, like there are better options. RJ Barrett, like you could run your offense literally through any of those guys. Jamal Shed, like, there's six better options to run your team than him. Okay. And I'm not trying to be mean. Like he's a great gimmick defender. Like it's pesky, whatever. But if you want to get him off you, set a screen. He's not going to recover. And congratulations, you've got him on a 7-footer down low and you have to scramble. And that's going to result in open threes. There's a reason the Sacramento Kings moved off of him. I think a lot of people are trying to oversell themselves. It was a great trade for the Raptors. Jalen McDaniels for anything is a good trade, but don't act like it's bigger than it is. You didn't just draft, sorry, you didn't just trade for the future sixth man of the year. I'm rooting for Davion Mitchell. He plays for the Toronto Raptors. I want him to do well. I'm just being realistic about what I've seen so far and what I've seen from him for 3 years and also his college career. Okay. This is not a guy who generates enough of advantage as an NBA player. He doesn't have necessarily the craft or the athleticism to be a lead initiator in the NBA. He doesn't have the shooting gravity to be an off ball spacer. He doesn't have the off ball awareness to be a defensive specialist. He doesn't have the size to be an on ball specialist. There's just a lot there, right? Chauncey Billups, a troll account, I'm sure, is saying hater. I'm not a hater. I don't think I'm a hater. Chris Boucher, love the activity level, hate the basketball IQ, right? Love that he's willing to pull and that he's assertive. It's really important for your offense that you have aggressive offensive players. And I think that Darko is probably looking at him like, shit, I might have to use him once in a while, right? Because this is an important thing to have as a guy who can finish plays, a guy who can, streak to the basket, a guy who is assertively trying to score, a guy who relentlessly chases his shot. Like that's what you have with Gary Trent Jr. The problem is when he doesn't get the ball, he's pretty much making it impossible for anyone else to get the ball as well, right? He drags his man way too often into plays that he has no business dragging him into. His off ball awareness, again, defensively is pitiful. I think his on ball is very overrated. And again, if he's just always late on the recovery, then his rim protection is somewhat limited as well, unless he's playing with four great defenders. So Chris Boucher, again, suffers from the same situation as a Gradey Dick, right? If Gradey Dick is your fifth starter, Gradey Dick is fine. If Chris Boucher is your fifth starter, like if he's your fifth best player, like if he's playing with Scotty Barnes, Emmanuel quickly, sorry, if Chris Boucher is playing with Scotty and OG and Pascal and Fred, he's fine. If Chris is playing with Kem Birch and Precious Achua, he's probably in a lot of trouble. And that's the problem. If he's the only guy who doesn't know what they're doing, you can recover for him and he does enough good things to make up for it. Right? So right now, if I'm Darko Rajakovic, I'm pretty much playing Chris Boucher exclusively with Jakob and Jakob, IQ, RJ, and Scotty. Or I'm not playing him at all. He's got to play with great players. If you're going to play him with the second unit, it cannot be with Davion and Jamal Shead and Ochai Agbaji. Like you just cannot do that. Like you cannot have that much that he has to support because he's not capable of that. Moving on to Jonathan Mogbo. I love him. Like I really do. I'm watching this and I'm like, man, if he can figure out his touch around the basket and just not when to pick up his dribble, stuff like that. Instinctually, he's just such a natural hooper. I think defensively, he shows a lot of really good instincts. He needs to get into the weight room. He needs to get stronger, but he's gonna figure this out, man. He's gonna figure this out. And I'm not telling you he's gonna be an all-star or he's gonna be Pascal Siakam or he's gonna be whatever. But don't let me catch you calling him Precious Achua, man. This guy understands the game. He understands how to play basketball. He's a natural hooper. Is he like probably more suited for the G League right now? Hell yes. Like he is way more suited for the G League. And he's probably going to have a tough time getting shot off in the G League right now because he just doesn't have the greatest offensive package. He's not very crafty. Everything is bang, dunk, bang, dunk, bang, dunk with him right now. But his passing is not something that is easily taught. I do see a future where he is Draymond esque. Now, I've also made a video a couple of days ago saying the Raptors are trying to run the Golden State defense. Well, if that's your backup center, you're in very good shape. And if he ends up eventually really putting on some weight and maybe even growing a little bit, like he's about 6'8". Like I don't buy any of the pre-draft bullshit. He's about 6'8" with a 7'2" wingspan, right? And he's got really wide shoulders. So he's like built wiry strong. If he can get 20 pounds on him, he might be your starting center in a few years. I have no idea. But the Raptors certainly see him as a wing for now. So if he's a small ball four playing with Kelly Olynyk, that's some really good synergy there. And if you're asking me, I prefer him to Chris Boucher right now. Even with all of his offensive foibles, I think just the fact that he reads the game a little bit better and is probably less mistake prone. Like he still makes mistakes too. Oh my God, he makes mistakes. Like, he picks up his dribble way too quickly. He overreacts sometimes defensively. He's caught flat-footed on a closeout, etc. He's gonna have growing pains, but there is something that you can really invest in here with a 22-year-old. And I'm just not sure I see the same upside on 31-year-old Chris Boucher. Ulrich Chomche, again, it looked really bad in real time. When you start slowing down the game tape, it doesn't look as bad. Yes, he's fouling, but the intent is good. Yes, he's way, way too often sprinting past his passing window and closing the window effectively because he passes through it. He doesn't have that natural feel right now that an that a Jonathan Mogbo has or that a Gradey Dick has, that sort of elevated basketball IQ that allows them to understand sort of how they should move in relation to how their teammates should move. That sort of symbiotic relationship. I think like Scotty Barnes has that as well. So Ulrich is just very, very raw. You know, to put it very simply, he's like a football player who's playing basketball. That's really what it is, you know. And if you've ever seen a football player try to transition to basketball, you'll notice that they have a lot of rigid movements. They they can use what they've learned as football players to do some impressive things on the basketball court, but there's still an adjustment to play from football to basketball. So I think Ulrich has a very bright future in the NBA. I'll continue to say it until I'm blue in the face that I don't see a world in which this guy does not make it because he works way too hard and he is just way too flexible. He's too on balance. You know what I mean? He doesn't like I know he fell and he had that awkward moment in game one, but I just don't think this is a guy who can fail. Like I'm not trying to put pressure on the kid. And I'm not saying he's going to succeed tomorrow. And I'm not saying he's going to be an NBA starter, when he's 20. But I'm saying this is a kid that you have to make work. Like you have to make this one work because the raw potential is it's his athletic tools are very similar to Cooper Flag, eerily similar. His game is what feels like a decade behind Cooper Flag's. It's not as refined, but it's not even the skill work, guys. It's not like the guy doesn't know how to move around the court. It's not like he doesn't know how to seal a screen. He just doesn't know when to do what. There is going to be a growth curve. And if we're listening to Joe Tuamu, who I did an interview with a few months back, to those of you who caught it, he's going to learn quickly. So, look, he's never had NBA coaching before. We saw this last year with Darko. RJ got better, IQ got better, Gradey got better, Scotty got better. We saw it throughout the year that there was something these guys couldn't do. And then suddenly 2 months later, they could do it, right? If you trust that those four players are a sample size and an accurate sample for how this team has suddenly learned to develop under Jama and Pat Delaney and Darko Rajakovic, then I think you have to trust that long term, kids like Jonathan Mogbo, Jamal Shead, Ulrich Chomche, Jacoby Walter, at least two, if not four, of those guys will work out to be significant contributors for you, as in rotation players. Is it possible for maybe an Ochai or a Davion to show some progress and some glimmer of hope that maybe gets them on a minimum contract going into next season? I have no idea. Would I prefer a Moses Moody right now to an Ochai Abasi? Fuck yeah. Yeah, I would. But here's the thing. You don't really know what you have in Ochai until you put him as a fifth starter on a competent team because that's his role. It's like Isaac Okoro, right? Like if I ask Isaac Okoro to to generate, like, lead initiator offense for me at the NBA level and he struggles, or if I ask him to be a second option to Cade Cunningham for an entire season, I'm not really going to get the full benefit or even the vision of what Isaac Okoro is. And that's where I think I have to say that my big takeaway is two things. I would like the Toronto Raptors to invest, and this is not going to be popular, but I'd like them to invest in two players. Number one, I would like them to invest in a competent veteran point guard to replace Davion Mitchell. Like a floor setter, table setter, a guy who just set you up. I'm talking like a Mike Conley, but obviously not Mike Conley. I'm not saying like a great one. I'm just saying a competent one. Maybe a Markel Fultz, somebody, anybody. Okay. The second thing is I would like them to replace Bruno Fernando with a competent rim protector, like a real rim protector. A guy who can, effectively suck up space and really quarterback a defense for the second line. I want to see who these players are. And in order for them to do that, there has to be some sort of competent balance. I cannot see the type of pressure that Davion Mitchell or even, Gradey Dick or Scotty Barnes. I can't see what kind of defenders these guys can be if you don't put the pieces around them in order to enable them to play the roles that they're made to play on defense. So I don't know. I think Bruce Brown probably redundant, on this team. I think he's a massive upgrade over Ochai Abaji, but probably redundant. So I'd like to see, what we can get. But like I'm overall very encouraged by this team. Really. I am. What's going on here? Daniel Franklin saying, should Raps keep Fernando or try to keep up another team's cut? 100%. You should cut him and try to keep it. You should protect another. But he's been with the team pretty much all summer. It'll be a really weird cut at this point. So yeah. Slitherman saying he didn't say we're full blown tanking. Watch Pirtle Media Day. So DRLO28, you're definitely wrong. He said we don't need to be prioritizing winning. That doesn't mean you are outright tanking. Like again, we don't need to try and go and win out every single game. Means that we're not going to be Tibbs about it. We're not going to play Scotty Barnes and Jakob Poeltl 45 minutes a game in order to win a game. We're not going to just hold Gradey. We're not going to bench Gradey and bench Jacoby because Bruce Brown is marginally better. Because if this was the New York Knicks, Gradey Dick's not playing. He's not going to play. If this was, the OKC Thunder, like teams that are really trying to go all out and win, Gradey Dick's not playing basketball. He's not going to play minutes. Jonathan Mogbo wouldn't play. We did this yesterday. We were talking about which one of these guys would actually play for the Thunder. Most of your roster would never play a minute for the Thunder this year. That's the point. So when Darko Rajakovic and Masai Ujiri say we are rebuilding, that is not synonymous with we are tanking. These are very different words. Rebuilding means implementation of something new. Tanking means deliberately trying to lose basketball games. I'm very clear and very consistent on this. The Raptors have a clear message to their core players right now. If you want to win, get better. If you want to win, play defense. If you don't want to go out and lose by 30, show us that you can play defense. And we're going to show you how to do it. And then it's up to you to decide whether you're going to do it and you're going to commit to that end of the floor or you're not. And that's really what it comes down to. This is not rocket science. Okay. If Scotty Barnes wants to take a step up to superstar and, RJ is going to be a sub all-star and Emmanuel Quickly is going to be a borderline all-star, you're going to be a really good team. And if your defense is going to hold water and be a top 15, top 18 type of defense, you're going to be a really good team. And if your defense is going to be bottom 5 and your offense is going to struggle and Scotty Barnes is going to continue to kind of stay sub all NBA, like if he's just going to be an all-star again, if RJ Barrett is going to continue to struggle with shot selection, if Emmanuel Quickly is not going to pick up full court and really pressure at the point of attack, if the rotations are not going to get better, if Kelly Olynyk and Bruce Brown and Jakob Poeltl are not going to spearhead the ship and really have those difficult conversations when they are needed, if there are guys like Chris Boucher or Bruce Brown potentially who are going to sulk because they don't have a new contract and they're going to try to bet on themselves, you're going to fall apart. You're going to fall apart. But in the end, the Raptors have not gone out of their way to help. They're basically saying, you want to be good, get better. And I love that because that puts the onus on the team. See, you can't point fingers at the team and say, well, they're forcing us to be bad. They're not forcing you to be bad. They're just not doing anything to compensate for the fact that you're not very good, if that makes sense. Are still high on Cameron Johnson. Watching Nets preseason, and he seemed lost 100%. I love Cam Johnson. I think he's amazing. And I really would like to stress very much for anyone in this community, please do not give a shit about preseason. I saw Detroit whoop the shit out of the Suns last night without Devin Booker. Cade Cunningham had a damn near triple-double, and I really don't care. It's wide open over and over again. These guys are literally trying to get in, cardio at this point. The Suns have bigger goals than beating the Detroit Pistons in preseason. And maybe for the Pistons, Tobias Harris and Cade Cunningham were like, shit, this might be the only time we beat the Suns this year. Let's get this feel good win right now. I'm not trying to downplay winning and losing. It's always nice to win. It always, you always feel better. But if you want to feel better about the Raptors winning, just know that they've pretty much led for 7 quarters out of 8 quarters. It doesn't really matter. Yak is just trying to temper expectations for some people. That's precisely it. Jakob Poeltl is just tempering expectations, and I believe he was the one who just said, then if you win, there's a positive surprise. Anyways, I hope this video was informative and interesting to kind of look at. I do think the game is sometimes very fast, and it does help to kind of go back and just see who is doing what. I hope it was informative. If it was informative, it was cool, give this video a like, hit subscribe. I'll catch you guys tomorrow after the Boston Celtics game. Talk to you later. Bye.